All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Embrace. Welcome to week 5, our Maryland Professional Association week. This week we are presenting an astounding number of workshops, 6 workshops in total, each presented and curated by Maryland's Professional Association. So TAMA, Teaching Artists of the Mid-Atlantic, Maryland Music Educators Association, Maryland Arts Education Association, Maryland Theater Education Association, and Maryland Dance Association. Today, we have a really exciting workshop to launch us into this incredible week of creativity. And the workshop is Pivoting Towards Creativity, which will be led by Ken Skrzesz. Before we get started, I just want to share with you that the Embrace series examines the intersections of art and wellness by exploring creative practices to keep us open, curious, and reflective during COVID-19. My name is Alicia Lee, and I'm the coordinator of fine arts at the Maryland State Department of Education. And it's been an incredible ride. We've had 4 weeks of workshops, and we hope that you'll join us for the next 2. We have 6 weeks total, so this week and then 2 more. Before I introduce today's facilitator, I'll give you a brief overview of some key features of Google Hangouts Meets, which is the tool that we'll be using today. If you need to mute or resume audio, you'll hit the button on the left of center. To mute or resume video, you'll hit the button on the right of center. I also want to make an announcement. We are recording today's session. So if that, just so that you know, you can give your consent. If you cannot be recorded, then you do need to leave the session today. Okay? Thank you so much. In addition, if you'd like to make a comment, we have moderators who will be mining the chat, which is a great place to put any questions. If the facilitator asks for feedback or for answers from you and you'd like to speak up, if you'll just put your name in the chat, so we'll have a running list in order of whose hand was raised first. In addition, the chat little icon can be found there on the right side of the screen. If you need closed captions today, if you need those, down on the right side, you'll see turn on the captions, and the captions are great and even allow you to differentiate who's speaking as a part of the caption. And finally, at the end of the meeting today, we will send you an evaluation that we hope that you will fill out. The evaluations help us. So far, we've been getting scores of 97% or above in terms of being able to utilize this work in your creative practice and teaching and learning practice. Help us to get more of these sessions in front of you by filling out the evaluation. At the end, you'll just simply click the hang up button and check your email, please, for that evaluation link. I also want to turn your attention to other resources that we have on our website for arts educators and for the arts education community. If you're looking for online teaching tools, best practices, or platforms, we have a very robust list that is divided by discipline. We also put out a weekly document that is a roundup of all of the professional development opportunities that are available online, internationally, for arts educators. And we also invite you to just, next slide, to participate in the entire week if you can. All of the sessions, some of them are art specific, art discipline specific, and we found that by exploring another arts discipline and really trying to make the connections with your specific practice, that's been a very valuable experience. So we have 6 workshops this week, and we invite you to participate in all of them. They are free, and they are for you. Thank you so much. All right, next slide. Ken Skrzesz is the Executive Director of the Maryland State Arts Council. Ken is an active master teacher of acting and dance, and he has performed, choreographed, and directed both nationally and internationally. He holds a choreography performance MFA from UNC Greensboro and a dance BFA from Towson University. Ken is a member of Actors Equity Association and the Society of Stage Directors and Choreographers. I now present to you our facilitator today for Pivoting Towards Creativity, Ken Skrzesz.
Thank you, Alicia. Welcome, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here with you today and honored that you've taken the time to spend this 45 minutes with us together. So I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm racing through the days. So I invite you to just settle in for the next 45 minutes. Slow your breath, We will be moving between short meditative and internal investigation practices and journaling. So if you haven't done so already, as you're taking a minute to settle in, quiet your environment, grab something to write with and something to write on, and make sure you are physically comfortable. So we'll begin with a brief meditation. And if we can move to the next slide, please. So close your eyes, settle into your seat, and locate your breath. Acknowledge that we're operating in unprecedented times. Our work today will offer a practical way to acknowledge any feelings of stress or anxiety, and through the creative process, elevate those feelings to a place that may result in the creation of new work. To quiet our thoughts, I'll begin with a circles of concentration meditation. So with your eyes closed, if you would begin to notice the sound of your breath and the sound of your heartbeat. Just be aware that this is the first circle of concentration, what's happening internally. On your breath, on your next inhalation, begin to expand your awareness to the second circle of concentration, which allows you to interpret the sounds within your room. The sounds within your room. This is the second circle. And on your next inhalation, elevating your awareness one more time, extending it beyond the walls of the room. What sounds are you hearing? What do you notice energetically or vibrationally beyond the walls of the room? Into the third circle of concentration. On your next inhalation, come back to the second circle of concentration within the walls of your room. Slowing your breathing. And on your next inhalation, come back to the first circle of concentration, the sounds and awareness within your body. Very gently on your next inhalation, slowly open your eyes and bring your awareness back into your space. The creative process begins with inspiration. And inspiration begins with a deliberate and authentic connection to our personal experiences. For today's work, let's begin with making a connection to what we're feeling at this time. It is important when feeling a negative emotion to stop and say, something is important here to me. Always, the negative emotion represents something we do not want. Today's work will give us some tools to pivot toward what we do want. So we'll do a quick body scan in order to tap into what we're feeling today. I know, as I said earlier, because of the pace of this time, we're often just skating through the days, and this is really a time to quiet that, slow it down, and check in with what's happening internally. So once again, close your eyes and just starting at the top of your head, be aware of the skin that covers the top of your head and your whole skull. Bring your awareness into your forehead and allow it to fall down across your eyes and cheeks and nose. Feel your ears relax. Release any tension in your jaw. Lips are together easily and teeth are slightly apart. Feel the relaxation come down through your neck and shoulders and gently down your arms. And just begin to check in with yourself. So far as what feelings are coming up for you today? Where are you today emotionally? Are you holding any tension in these parts of your body that might be related to your emotional check-in? On your breath, move into your upper chest and upper back, down your spine, releasing your rib cage. Again, as you're moving down through your torso, checking in with yourself, how and what am I feeling today? Feel your abdomen fall, your pelvis heavy, your thighs falling away from your pelvis. Your knees are easy and relaxed. Lower legs are hanging from your knees and ankles hanging from your lower legs. Feet grounded and relaxed. So from this quiet place, ask yourself, what am I feeling today? It's important to name your emotions. You may not be feeling one thing strongly. You may be feeling a couple of things, or one thing in a strong way and another thing less so. You may be feeling unsomething, unclear, unsettled, and that's fine too. You may have just one overriding feeling. We'll sit quietly for 30 seconds to connect to what you're feeling today. On your next inhalation, open your eyes, open your journals, and take 1 minute to capture your feelings. Use language that is as specific as possible. Checking in this way is a gift to yourself and to those around you. 1 minute, please, just to capture what you're feeling today. Let's move on to exploration, the second stop in the creative process. As we explore, we deepen and broaden our inspiration. With your eyes closed again, locating your breath again. Having located and described the emotion, now send your thoughts into that emotion and ask what circumstances inspired that feeling or those feelings, the why of the emotion. Just 30 seconds of silence to see the emotion and become clear about the circumstances that inspired it. Why are you feeling what you're feeling? No need to justify. Just claim your feelings and acknowledge a cause. Any feeling and any cause. Okay, we're going to call this today's check-in. That's the title of this statement. So the statement is, I feel X and my feelings are because of Y. Take about 30 seconds to write today's check-in. I feel X and my feelings are because of or connected to Y. Again, identifying any negative emotion allows us to understand what we do not want so that we can pivot toward what we do want. 30 seconds to finalize your today's check-in statement. Okay, moving on to the next slide. At our first pivot point, let's normalize today's check-in by assigning it to one of these levels of the emotional guidance scale. Don't worry about it fitting in perfectly. Have a read through of the scale and decide which listed emotion is closest to your statement of today's check-in. Jot down the level number and emotion next to today's check-in. The higher the level number, the worse your emotion may feel because it is out of alignment with who you really are. You're operating in a way that does not feel centered. Today's about using the creative process to move up the scale, and you'll be able to use this tool at any time. Which level would make today's check-in clearer or truer for what you're experiencing? In the creative process, as we explore our inspirations, a magical thing occurs. We begin to broaden the reach of our ideas as we move them outside of ourselves. The personalization that inspired us becomes normalized so that it can inspire others. Just take a few minutes or a few seconds here to clarify today's check-in and jot down the closest level on the scale. Moving on to the next slide, would anyone be willing to share today's check-in and their level? I feel X, my feelings are connected to Y, and my emotional level on the scale is whatever you found. I'm going to share the upper levels of, that's where we're headed, the upper levels in just a moment. That's our next stop in the creative process. Does anybody find anything resonates here or is relevant?
Jennifer Peregrine, if you could unmute and share.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I am at a level 12. Today I'm feeling really run down, I think mostly because it feels like it should be spring, but the weather isn't really cooperating, so I'm feeling very disappointed with the weather.
Thanks for that. Anyone else?
Stacy Allen, and then if Cassandra, if you could be on deck. You're still muted. There you go. Hi, Stacy. You're still muted. Stacy Allen. Cassandra, would you like to share while I think Stacy's trying to figure out her sound. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you. Mine was today, I feel unsettled, and my feeling is because of everything being a chain reaction, which leads to more unknown, and that's just related to cause and effect towards all of our actions right now with the virus. And I looked at the scale, and I think I got to 22 because of a fear of something constantly going wrong, and feeling a little bit powerless for how to take comfort in knowing what to do every time.
Thanks for sharing that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stacy.
And is Stacy?
I think Stacy's preparing. She's trying to get through. Was there anyone else that would like to present, or would you like to move on, Ken? Stacy's having trouble with her sound.
Okay, so let's move on then. Thanks very much for sharing that. So to the next slide, please. And now we're back to the creative process. So we've established our inspiration. That's today's check-in. And we've spent some time in exploration, researching, comparing, aligning with other information. Now we move on to elevation. How do we take what we've learned through our exploration and expand it? Elevation allows us to pivot from what we do not want toward what we do want. Please have one more quick look at today's check-in and the identified emotional level, just loosely memorizing it or knowing it. And close your eyes once again. Find your breath. And here's a major pivot point. Using your most artistic and creative mind, imagine your best possible circumstances 1 year from now. You're living in a different time, living in a world that was made better by our current experience. The air is cleaner, our pace has slowed, our focus is clearer, we live our days more intentionally. Come to a solid vision of one day in your life 1 year from now. See yourself sitting quietly in a room. What is different about your environment? What is different about you because of what you've learned in the past year? You're enjoying the benefits of your new circumstances. Solidify this image of your future self. Take several deep, slow breaths, sitting in that future space. And holding your future self very carefully, open your eyes and take 1 minute to write a new check-in statement. I'm feeling X, and these feelings are connected to Y. We'll call this your elevated check-in. Again, as yourself 1 year from today. I'm feeling this way, and these feelings are connected to these circumstances. Please take 1 minute to write an elevated check-in. So now, having taken that leap, moving to the next slide, we'll do a pivot again. Once again, we're trying to normalize your elevated check-in by assigning it to one of these levels of the emotional guidance scale. Again, don't worry about it fitting perfectly. Which emotion is closest to your elevated check-in? Take 30 seconds or so to clarify your elevated check-in and the closest level on the scale. Embodying yourself 1 year from now. You're feeling what? Your feelings are connected to what? And what emotional level on the scale is showing up for you? Okay, and moving to the next slide, is anyone willing to share their elevated check-in? What do you see coming for yourself in a year? Where are your new feelings and what are they connected to? And where did you land at this next pivot point?
I can share if you like. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, this entire time has been a time of growth, and some of it has been painful, but what I see myself in a year is that I would be a level 1, having joy, appreciation, empowerment, freedom, and love. That the things that I have gone through and learned from have allowed me to actualize myself and my goals and manifest them, that it carries over to my family life and to my professional life. And that from what I'm seeing from the people around me, that the growth and the healing that is simultaneously occurring while things are being really uncertain, that stays with everybody. And that even the planet itself healing, that it's like a better place where we are on the other side of things. So that's what I see.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Carrie Hollahan, you're next, please.
I'm feeling, in 1 year, I'm feeling utilized, appreciated, fulfilled, respected, and challenged. And those feelings are connected to feelings of empowerment to face fears, to pursue projects, and engage in relationships that I have been afraid of pursuing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ken, is there room for 2 more?
Yes.
Ronnie, you're next.
Okay, I said I'm feeling accomplished and secure because I'm back at school. I'm in my own classroom. And I feel like being back with the kids, that would make me, enthusiastic, eager, happy. On a personal level, my family situation would be a little more settled, and the kids be a little more settled. My sons and that. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Thank you.
And lastly, we have Lynette Rogers.
Hello, everyone. I said in 1 year, I feel grateful and my feelings will be connected to my accomplishments. I have really been doing a lot of seeking and a lot of enrichment, upgrading my professional practice, learning a lot of digital online. I know that we will not go back to normalcy. So I want to make sure that I am enhancing my practice, learning as much as I can, upgrading my practice for a digital online learning platform so I can do it in class or without a classroom. I want to make sure that I am prepared professionally. So I am, in a year, I'll feel happy and excited that I have accomplished this and that it's well on my way to improve my classroom. Thank you.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Okay, moving on. The next stage in the creative process is assessment. So how far did you rise in the emotional guidance scale? Excuse me. Have one more read of your elevated check-in. How would you rewrite it to pivot even further from what you do not want and even more toward what you do want? How can you move even higher up the scale? What future vision can you hold for yourself that's even greater than your original imagining? Take 1 minute to expand your elevated check-in into a future vision statement. Be generous. Imagine your best day. Write your future vision statement now and write it in the present tense. I'm feeling X. My feelings are because of Y. What great things are happening for you that are influencing the way you feel? Take just 1 minute to elevate the statement. Okay, so moving on, elevation 2.0. So your final pivot point, aligning your future vision statement with a new level on the emotional guidance scale. Have one more look here quickly before we move on. How far did you get there? And as you move up the scale, notice that you are beginning or have pivoted back to your center, back to the best version of yourself. Next slide, please. So take a deep breath in this new space, embodying it. Can we have one last share here with this elevation 2.0?
I'll share. I just feel that in the future, if I talk about it in the present tense, would be that I've accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish, that I'm now ready for the next challenge. I can see the fruit of my labor, and I'm satisfied with things that have happened. And now I feel this sort of passion, the enthusiasm, like now I know that I can take it to another level, and I'm ready for what life is bringing me. And I'm excited about those challenges because I'm a stronger person.
Thanks very much. So the final step in the creative process, of course, is presentation. So now that you're in this centered place and you have your future vision, let's move that into an artistic expression. So we've made an authentic connection with our emotions. We've pivoted to rediscover the best version of ourselves. And from that place, we can create our best work, and work that envisions the gifts of this time as a bright future rather than a challenging present. So now I'd like you to take 2 minutes to write a concept statement for an artistic expression using your future vision as the inspiration. What literature, choreography, play, music, 2D, 3D, multidiscipline work might be the result of your future vision, might be inspired by it. You're not creating the work at this time, of course. You're just writing a brief concept statement, a couple of sentences that could be used as an inspiration for future work. Jot down a couple of sentences that describe an idea for work based on your future vision, and we'll allow 2 minutes for this concept statement development. Okay, and finalizing your thoughts and your writing, would anyone be willing to share the concept for your new work based on your future vision? Did any great inspiration bubble to the surface that you'd like to share with us?
While we're waiting for people to add their name to the chat, I'm happy to share. I have an idea for a song cycle that would use body percussion. This idea of singer in isolation and being able to make music with the tools that you have just inside of you and how powerful that can be, and wanting to kind of capture that moment and share it in the future in a different time to recall some of the music making that's happening for me, at least now.
Thank you.
Cassandra Holsa, you're next.
Hi, I have an idea of a large-scale painting of a window that is open, and you're looking out of the window, and it's just full of all of these bright, colorful, impressionistic-like flowers, but the flowers are actually made out of words of gratitude and different kind of words about the journeys and the feelings that we had in the past leading up to the larger flowers in the foreground of how we're feeling now in my family and our lives and how far we've come.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to share? I see some ideas popping up on the chat. Would you like to share those verbally with us?
Ken, I'd like to share. I'm thinking of doing a collage series just about the inner work that's going on during this time. Thinking about yourself and your kind of place in this world and how that inner work will glow outwardly. Like as you get out there, it's going to like shine. Like there's going to be this bright, you know, light there. And I want to see that visually through collage.
Thank you.
Stacy, Johnny, did you want to share your idea?
Sure, I'd love to. I have a series of drawings that I made that are inspired by nature, and they're in a grid pattern that I modeled after a type of quilt because my grandmother was fond of sewing. And I see that making them much bigger with a lot more drawings and having them shown at a science museum, a natural history museum, something like that.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Alice Yeager.
Alice, go ahead.
This first time I've sat in on a Google Meet before. It's really neat. I've been trying some Zoom, so I'm learning a lot from your presentation, Ken. I teach art and healing arts for decades and have been looking for some inspiration on how to express some of these combined ideas. I was intrigued that you're using some of Abraham Hicks's work too. That was kind of nice to see. I'm always appreciating connecting with other people. They're both in the arts and the healing arts. I graduated from the Maryland Institute many years ago, but some other health issues took me on another path that I now integrate the two areas. So I'm also about 33 years ago, suddenly opened up psychically. So I've been following inner guidance on projects that I feel like I've been gifted. So what came up in the meditation was like a culmination of those projects finally coming together, hopefully next year, but they seem to come up periodically. And they all have to do with journaling and meditation and the arts for healing and even the performing arts and improv and writing and theater and the arts combined to teach peace. So at some point, I guess I'd like to share with a broader audience. So I'm hoping that will come to fruition with this being a new aspect of how to extend it beyond where it's been. So.
Lovely. Thank you, Alice.
Yeah.
We also have Carrie, if you could unmute and share.
So I'm very interested in folk songs around the world. And so I've had this long-term idea of bringing folk songs from different countries, different cultures together in some session, certainly where the participants bring their own songs from their childhood and use it as a way to increase mutual understanding of different cultures and specifically between countries that are experiencing conflict.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So my hope is that today's experience reminded you to use the creative process to realign your emotional response with your center, to consistently pivot toward the best version of yourself. This practice is the unique gift of artists because we walk through the world with the ability to make something that's never before existed based on any idea, allowing it to evolve and swim through our imaginations. Today was simply a reminder to call upon your gift and elevate your feelings during times of stress and trauma. I'm deeply grateful, and I have to say that I didn't know, when you do this kind of work in person, you can feel the shift in the room. You can feel a change occur. I didn't know if we would get there virtually, and we have, and I'm grateful for that. So I'm happy to hold the space for a few minutes if you have questions or to hear your thoughts about today's Embrace activity. If anyone has any final thoughts or questions, I'd love to hear them.
I have a question. This is Alice again. I'd like to know a little bit about the history of the Embrace concept here and what its future potential is too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for asking that question, Alice. We have my colleagues and I, the Maryland Centers for Creative Classroom, roster, and AIMS, Arts Education in Maryland Schools Alliance. We have a strong vision for being responsive in classrooms and also and professional learning spaces. And so as schools begin to close and needs begin to arise, we thought first, of course, of meeting practical needs, and then other needs began to arise, hearing directly from constituents, right? So we asked people, what do you need? And people needed practical tools, which we were able to provide, and they also needed space to have a communal place to come and talk about creativity, to talk about ways that art could be used through as an act of self-care and wellness. And so we wanted to provide that space as well. And so we've been doing these sessions for about 4 weeks. Each session is vastly different from the next. And so this today is an opportunity for us to utilize the creative practice models that we share in a lot of our professional development sessions, like the micro-credentials and the summer session. And we share that model with the State Arts Council as well. They use the same model. We all use the same model to talk about art making across time and space. So it's a great way to collaborate and to kind of present that work out to you in a way like this, in terms of how to really use this as a tool in many different ways, specifically today, to unearth your emotions and use them to spur creative work. So that's what Embrace is all about, and we hope you'll join us for future sessions.
Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it a lot.
Sure, of course.
Any final comments?
I'll share something. This was just a really welcome break for me from problem-focused thinking and on to more imaginative thinking. I find that even though I am an artist, I do find that when things seem unlikely, I have a harder time imagining them. And that's just how this whole time feels, is that it's hard to imagine better things. But this guided practice worked for me.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Ken, there's been some question about whether we will be able to share maybe the 2 slides with the Abraham Hicks, right? And so just
sure,
we will share those slides as well. So there's so many notes of gratitude in the chat. I'm just going to read 2 or 3 of them before we depart. I think it's nice sometimes to hear them in the space. Thank you, Ken. This has helped me realize why I'm working on what I'm working on creatively, and why I'm working on that creatively, and how it's related to the time we're in. I didn't really know why I felt so strongly about this idea of mine, and going inside myself like this helped me to figure it out. Thank you for this. That's from Matthew Marks. And Carol sends, thank you. Definitely a process I will utilize again to navigate through our circumstances. I can see the potential of using a similar presentation for my young students. So with that, I'll also add that we'll also share a graphic of the Maryland State Arts Council, the Maryland State Department of Education's education creative process model that we'd like you to explore as well. And I'll turn it over to Ken to close our session.
Well, thank you. Deep gratitude to all of you. Alicia's work at MSDE and its connection to the Maryland State Arts Council has provided a model for our state of lifelong learning in the arts. So it was particularly gratifying this afternoon to hear how arts educators are thinking about this work and the creative process, its connection to young people, and how there is a continuum because the creative process, if we're aware of it, continues to inform our work as we deepen our work, as we deepen our lives as artists. So I'm very grateful to all of you today for being here with us. And thank you, Alicia. Thanks for this space.
Thank you so much, Ken. This was just what we all needed. Thank you so much. As we do every session, if you'll unmute and if we could cheer Ken on. Thank you. Thank you.